Hi, my name is Rebecca LeDuc, and as you know, this is Cosmo the Cougar. Cosmo's come all the way to Cache Valley in search of some help. Unfortunately, his sports team is struggling this year, so he came up to the Aggies, who are having a lot of success, to get some help with a movement analysis. The first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to help Cosmo with his baseball pitch. There's 4 phases involved in the baseball pitch. First is called the stance phase. It's where you're getting into a comfortable and balanced position, getting your joint angles in the right places, and positioning yourself to get ready. This is a static phase and has minimal movement. This is the rest phase of the Newton's first law. The ball is waiting to be acted upon by the force that will compel it to change. The second phase is called the preparatory phase or wind-up phase, and this phase is where the pitcher is pulling back and cocking and winding the ball. This is where he's using the stretch shortening cycle to give him that added boost behind the acceleration of the ball. The third phase is called the movement phase. This is just what it says. It's the portion of the pitch where the force is applied to the ball and where it's using Newton's second law. It's taking the force of his body and moving the mass of the ball as it's propelling it forward in acceleration, and action are the key to this phase. The final 4th phase is the follow-through phase. This is where the ball is accelerated forward and now the body recovers from the arm and leg movement. It's time to realign and rebalance your body. These are the 4 phases. There's many different joints and muscles that are being used concentrically and eccentrically. Let's go through each phase and look at each of these. The first phase is the stance phase. This is also the prep phase where he's getting ready to throw the ball. So he's going to put his arm back, getting ready, and bringing his knee forward. This is through the radial ulnar joint. You're going to have pronation here with the hand. That includes the pronator quadratus, the pronator teres, and both of those are working concentrically. Next is the humeral ulnar joint. That's going to be performing extension, which would include the brachioradialis, biceps brachii, and brachioradialis. They're all working eccentrically. Next, we're going to have the glenohumeral joint. That's going to cause internal rotation, which is also acting concentrically with the anterior deltoid, the subscapularis, the latissimus dorsi, the teres major, and also the pectoralis major. Those are all going to be working concentrically. And the next is going to be happening is abduction, coming away from his body. That is going to be with the deltoid muscles, and that will be performing concentrically. The next is going to be his acetabular-femoral. This will be his left acetabular-femoral joint. It's causing flexion, which is done by the iliopsoas, the pectineus, the rectus femoris, sartorius, and they're all working concentrically as well. The next is going to be the tibiofemoral. This would be his left side, causing flexion, which would be using the femoris, rectus femoris, vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, and vastus intermedialis, as well as his gracilis and sartorius. Those are all going to be working eccentrically, and that is the end of phase 1. The second phase is the wind-up phase. This is where it's going to be bringing the ball back to get ready to propel the ball forward. You're going to be using the glenohumeral joint, which is causing external rotation by the posterior deltoid and the supraspinatus. Those are both going to be working concentrically. We've also got the humeral ulnar, which is doing flexion, and also those muscles are the the supinator, the biceps brachii, the brachioradialis, and those are all working concentrically. The radiocarpal joints are going to be doing extension with the radialis brevis, the extensor carpi, the radialis longus, and the extensor carpi and ulnaris. Those are all going to be working concentrically as well. In the acetabular-femoral joint, you're going to be having external rotation as it's moving out, and that's going to be caused by the gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius, also both working concentrically. The next phase is the third phase. This is going to be the movement phase of the motion, where the ball is going to be coming forward, the leg's going to be coming up, and you're going to be moving the ball forward. This is going to be internal rotation of the glenohumeral joint, which is going to be caused by the pectoralis major, the anterior deltoid, the subscapularis, the latissimus dorsi, and the teres major. All of these are going to be working concentrically as they're shortening. You're also going to be using the scapulothoracic joint, which is doing upward rotation as you're moving up. It's by the trapezius, the serratus anterior, and those are concentric as well. The humeral ulnar joint is doing extension as it's moving forward, caused by the triceps brachii, flexor carpi, and they're working concentrically. In the acetabular-femoral region, that's causing extension as he's moving his leg forward to step. That's done by the rectus femoris, vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, and vastus intermedius, and those are working concentrically. His acetabular-femoral joint is going to be doing extension as well, and that's going to be caused by the pectineus, the iliopsoas, and the sartorius, and those are actually working eccentrically as they're lengthening. In his trunk area, he's going to be having a rotation, which is caused by the external obliques and the internal obliques that are working concentrically. So this is phase 4. This is what you're going to end with phase 4, and this is the follow-through phase. This is where the glenohumeral joint is going to be doing internal rotation as it's coming in, caused by the anterior deltoids and the pectoralis major and latissimus dorsi, as well as the subscapularis and teres major. Those are all going to be working concentrically for internal rotation. You're also going to have abduction or adduction as you're moving your arm back towards your body, and that's caused by the teres major, the pectoralis major, latissimus dorsi, and those are working concentrically. In your scapulothoracic, you're going to have downward rotation as you're coming down. That's going to be caused by your pectoralis major, your rhomboids, and those are working concentrically, as well as depression as it's coming, your shoulders coming down, and that's going to be your pectoralis minor, and it's working concentrically. There are 3 biomechanical principles that can help Cosmo with his pitch. The first is going to be the law of motion, Newton's first law, also his second law of motion, acceleration, and then also the stretch shortening cycle. All these give us a better way to pitch. First, let's talk about force. A force can cause an object with mass to change its velocity, thus moving something from a state of rest to a state of motion. Newton's first law is shown at both ends of the baseball cycle, the pitcher throwing the ball and the batter as they're hitting the ball. The pitcher puts the ball in a state from rest to motion. The pitcher first contracts and becomes the external force that changes the resting state of the ball in the glove to the motion of it flying through the air. Cosmo, when you throw a pitch, you're leading with your hand as you release the ball, causing the force coming from your body to move the ball from a resting position in your mitt to one that's going through the air towards the batter. This is caused internally by rotating your arm during circumduction, and then you extend your elbow quickly while your shoulder is abducted. You'll also use the other muscles in your body that will help you in this action. When you extend your elbow quickly, you are leading with your hand and the ball. The result is an accelerated ball flying out of the glove that was formerly just sitting in it. Let's talk about Newton's second law. Acceleration of an object is dependent upon the object and the mass of the object. To visualize this, Cosmo, let's think about a bowling ball and a baseball. If you were throwing a baseball the same way that you were throwing a bowling ball, obviously the baseball is going to go farther because it has a lower mass than a bowling ball. If you were to throw a bowling ball, you're going to be using a lot more force behind that ball to propel the ball forward. This is Newton's second law. Our next biomechanical principle that we're talking about today is called the stretch shortening cycle. Cosmo, jump as high as you can with your legs completely straight. Now I want you to jump again, only this time going down a little bit with your knees bent to get down and then jumping straight up. If you were to measure both jumps, your second jump would have been higher due to the stretch shortening cycle. By lengthening a little before shortening, your muscles are giving them an added boost of acceleration. You're lengthening and then shortening. To stretch or lengthen a muscle before it shortens produces optimal muscle force. In order to go forward, it's better to go a little backwards. Just like a pole vaulter goes back and then explodes forward, we too in a baseball pitch can get that little added force to help us. We do this in the baseball pitch as we first lengthen our arm before and then immediately shorten to deliver the pitch. Next, let's talk about common mistakes in baseball pitching. Our base is very important. The way we center our gravity, if we are off center, we're easily swayed one way or the other. In baseball, having a wide stance to build the center of gravity is important. Too wide of a stance, so if you move your legs super wide of a stance, is going to cause your center of gravity to be really wide. But also if you're going too narrow, if your stance is very narrow, that's going to limit the actions that your body can move. Having yourself in a good stance helps our upper body do its work. As we enter the fourth phase of follow-through, we begin what is called the landing of the baseball pitch. After you've let go of the ball, go ahead and pitch like you're landing. We then have to land our feet in the follow-through phase. Having a very open or far away from our initial pitch or too close of a landing is going to affect the delivery of the ball either too high or too low rather than straight over the home plate. By knowing where your center of gravity is, with your having your hips and your legs comfortably within that center of gravity, you'll help you deliver a great pitch every time. Thanks, Cosmo. My final thoughts to you, Cosmo, is a suggestion on how to improve the performance of your baseball pitch movement. Strength and stability in your lower body contribute huge to the final outcome of your performance. By strengthening your legs, you're building up that solid and strong base that when it is centered and in line can help you maximize your upper body delivery of the baseball. Good things to do to help your lower body would include doing all different kinds of squats, Front squats work the quads and upper back, which will help you both in your trunk area and also in your legs and your center of gravity. This has been a lot of fun today, Cosmo. I hope you can take some of these great movement tips and knowledge back to Cougar Town. Maybe something you learned today can help your Cougars get out of their current slump.
Go Aggies!